Hi there, I'm Dan Whittaker. I'm here to talk with you about the weight trace in the downswing, the pressure movement and how the pressure exerted on the floor controls the movement of the pelvis, the direction the pelvis is moving in, and essentially therefore the shot shape that you're going to eventually end up hitting. Now what we've found is with the use of the force plate here from boditrak, using that with my players along with the Trackman, we've been able to use that data together to see how where the pressure is moving, where the weight trace is going, what is happening with that, and therefore essentially what then's happening to the ball flight and the shot shape. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that you've got a constant move in the trace, particularly with an iron, okay? Because we don't want it where you've got your weight moving forward and therefore you then and the trace is going towards the target and then it backs up and then goes forwards again, because this will essentially mean that you are losing power, or more importantly losing efficiency, because what will happen is the arms and the body aren't necessarily working together. Okay, one thing that we'll see is that when we get somebody who starts from the top and really pressures the front of the left foot into the toe box coming down, they'll tend to get their arms a little bit trapped behind their body here. So they'll be a little bit stuck behind them with this right elbow. What will then happen is the pressure exerted through that front foot will be pushed back up through the body from the floor, and as they're trying to come through, they'll be snapping the leg back. The pressure will be moving backwards as the arms are trying to work away, so that creates a chasing motion through the golf ball, and the hands and arms are working at a different speed relative to the pivot. This brings in a lot of timing problems, therefore makes it very inconsistent in the way that you're going to be able to strike the golf ball properly. Now, I'm going to bring on the screen now for you a student, and you'll see how his weight trace very much goes forwards and then goes backwards, and you'll see the associated numbers on the Trackman. So as we can see here in this trace, we can see that the weight from the top of the backswing is beginning to then move across towards the toes this way, okay? And as we move this through, what we'll notice is that the weight from the back foot transfers across, and 95% of the weight is in the toes at this point in the transition. So then very much stays on the toes, it stays at 76%, so then there becomes a back out in this area here. So as the back out takes shape, the weight redistributes itself back across towards the right hand side. So therefore we see two peaks in the graph here on the right hand side of the screen. The two peaks in the graph therefore dictate that the weight is slightly backing out and then it's starting to move through again, and this is showing that the pressure is actually moving forwards twice onto the front foot. Okay, but the big thing is that once that weight has gone onto the toe there, it's actually going to mean that this path is starting to come a long way from the inside. We've got another pressure plate here, this is the same player, and you can see once again the way that weight is straight away moving onto the toes. So the way the weight moves onto the toes diagonally is what shifts the pelvis diagonally across. This then gives us this shot shape, 7.7 degrees from the inside, which is a long way with an iron. Yes, it's 1.5 down, but this is coming a long way from the inside, and this is going to create a lot of curvature on the golf ball. Okay, we can see that it doesn't need to be a lot out with the face for this to create big draws and see a lot of movement in the ball across the air. You can see there on the Trackman numbers that was very much coming from the inside, over 7 degrees from the inside, because his weight was going forwards here, meaning that once his weight went towards his toe, we can see that if I face you straight on the camera here, if I go to the top and I pressure the toe, the direction of the pelvis is actually to the right of the target, and it's actually, yes, it's maybe keeping it closed a little. If we do that and try and turn, we're now in a whole heap of trouble, because we've got nowhere else to go other than backwards, which therefore is then going to bring my path even more from the inside. Now this can be a massive problem for some people. Conversely, let's say you've got somebody who's very much over the top and big slicer of the golf ball, you can actually start to change their feeling of where their pressure is going through the floor and get that path to change its direction. It's not something that I would particularly recommend doing, but I've seen people have great success when they've tried to do this in the short term. to get the club coming more from the inside when they've been very out to in. But what we'll see on the screen in a moment is a completely different trace. You're going to see a trace that comes through completely uninterrupted with Trackman numbers that are going to see it very, very neutral. So we can see here on this weight shift, this is a much more constant weight shift. There isn't a backing out, so the weight is moving across and in towards the heel. Now, this is going to give much more room for the arms coming down for the player. So the player's going to have a lot more room with the arms in front of the body, just due to the fact that, yes, once the weight has moved across, and we can see that with the one peak here that there's been no backing out of the weight, so we can see how the weight moves into the right side and the backswing very quickly, then shifts across, but it's only shifting across the foot, so it's not loading the toe box. So because of this, there's a lot more room for the arms to then get in front of the body. Now when we have a look at the Trackman data, we can see that this path has come in at only 0.3 from the inside, but this player is able to move it from draws and to fades very easily, because there's going to be lots of room for the arms and the club to come into the golf ball. Whereas when the arms are tending to get stuck because the pelvis is moving diagonally too much, it makes things just a lot more difficult through the ball. The arms get trapped and therefore you get the hooks, as we saw on the previous trace. So we could see right there the Trackman numbers associated with that swing and the trace. You could see that the trace had no pause and no stop, okay? So this was allowing this player to move across and essentially move their weight in towards their left heel, okay? So what you get is, at impact, this player is going to have the weight moving into the left heel and also with the right foot rolling across. So it's going to be moving in this direction, okay? So the weight will be moving into the heel, meaning that the trace will be going along and then moving in and around to the left. So that supports the trace, and the movement and the pressure supports the movement of the golf club. So if you're trying to get the golf club to move back around with your body, but you're going this way, you're trapping it and you're going to have your arms firing away. So what this means is that your arms, the body and the club are never going to be working together and in sync with one another. You tend to then see arms wanting to go out to the right towards the camera, or you're going to see a swing that gets a bit choppy. It's going to be very, very inconsistent. It's never going to have a superb weight movement, a great trace. People who've got great traces on tour, you know, Justin Rose has a very good trace. His right foot is rolling across very, very nicely in this manner. And he's making sure that his weight is getting off his right side whilst he's moving through. So the right foot is rolling. What this allows you to happen is when that weight is going off the right foot and the right foot is rolling in and the inside of the left foot is in the air, the weight is going in towards that left heel, so the trace, as we saw, is moving in that direction. This then allows this player to hit a very, very tight ball flight and have very little curvature on the golf ball. From there, it's actually quite easy to be able to learn to cut the golf ball, because if the weight is moving into the heel, we could see a little cut on it. Whereas if it's moving towards the toe, you're always going to have this directional move of it going too far from the inside, then creating back out. The arms, the body and the club are working in different speeds, and therefore there's no synchronization. Even if you do have a great backswing where everything reaches the top in sync, coming down in the wrong manner, you're going to have massive problems in terms of delivering that club back to the ball in a consistent manner. So what we are really aiming for is on the way through is to get this weight into the heel, okay, so that the weight is moving across the feet. I like to see the right knee moving in towards the left knee, okay, so and that the weight never goes past the centre line. So if we get too much here with the right foot up, we're going to get the arms a little bit trapped, potentially then getting that path coming too far from the inside. So if we get a bit of lateral motion out of this pelvis, what we'll tend to see is that the weight is moving into the heel. So if we just try a little half shot drill here, which is the superb one to get done, it's just in this little half swing position, okay, and what we're going to do is just going to take it back, just to a little kind of halfway back position, then move through with the weight into the heel in this direction and the right foot rolling. So we're just going to make a little half motion back can see that the weight has moved into the heel here. See the instep of the toe is up in the air and the right foot has rolled across. This will mean that my arms may be able to work around with my body, providing me with lots of consistency because I can deliver the club with the body into the ball on a very, very neutral path. Whereas when my trace is going too far to the right, I'm pressuring my toe too much, I'm always going to be altering the path and the direction of that club coming into the ball. I'm then going to have to do things with my arm, my shoulders, my body. They're going to have to alter their positions in order to deliver the club to the ball in a consistent manner. So you're wanting to make sure that your trace has a very smooth line to it. Anybody who's on a force plate, making sure that there's no zigzags and backing out of it, because I see that with all the top players I work with, that you tend to see that if you get them backing out like this is when they really struggle with controlling the curvature of a golf ball, which is essentially the direction the shot's going to be going in. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Please visit my website, which is danwhitackergolf.com. I've got my social media links at the bottom, my Twitter and Facebook page. Please go on there, follow and like the pages, that would be great. I'll be talking to you again very soon with much more great information, including force plate, Trackman, short game, and lots of other good swing information. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to talking with you again very soon.